subscribe and, you know, like the video. I mean, I understand why everybody hates identity politics, because the most common way that identity politics has been used is basically weaponized against people that you are purposely misunderstanding the point of. It's rarely ever used against people who are actually engaging in the other side of identity politics: white identity politics, male identity politics, straight heterosexual identity politics, and things of that nature. Now, having said that, Radlibs are annoying. Okay, they are. And I say this as someone who is a man. Okay, a heterosexual man, a heterosexual white man. So obviously, I draw the ire of a lot of Radlibs in the similar vein, and they are poison for coalition building. That is just the truth. Okay, it's just the truth. And many of them, when they hear me say stuff like this, will immediately go back to writing Twitter posts. But ultimately, they're no motion ass motherfuckers. They got no motion whatsoever. So it doesn't really matter. So I let them chirp all day, every day. Okay? Now, while they don't have any motion, they're still annoying. And people can see them be annoying. And people actually say, well, this is how all of these woke lords are like. Okay? This is how all of them are like. This is just how they operate. And I happen to believe that a lot of that Radlib shit actually stems from a sense of powerlessness. Okay? That's where it comes from. They just know that they have no motion whatsoever, and they can't make political changes. They can't make systemic changes. So what do? They constantly engage in cultural critique. Constantly, in the most annoying ways possible. Okay? And inherently reactionary cultural critique. So it's fine. It happens. It's, you know, just everybody knows it's annoying. Okay? Everybody understands it's annoying, but people still, you know, try to do it. One example I will use of Radlibs that used to have a lot of motion at the peak of the radical liberal anti-Trump resistance train in the first in the first Trump victory, in the aftermath of the first Trump victory, that kind of has died out, was the fact that there was a black lady on Twitter that said Indians are smelly. Then the white Cambridge University PhD olfactory writer person said, hey, this is really messed up. Don't call Indians sweaty. It's always shocking when I see other women of color put other women of color down and call them smelly. Okay? And then, lo and behold, the Radlibs came after Dr. Allie Lukes and made her delete that tweet. She deleted the tweet and also apologized. Apologized for engaging in misogynoir. It is not misogynoir to say, hey, don't say Indians are smelly. What the f are we doing? That is insane. The smell PhD lady was correct. Okay? It does not matter. Bro, why do you always have to talk about black women L's? Like, look away. It's embarrassing, please. Okay, I'm just using this as one example. Okay? The point is, that is the last time that's the first time in a long time where I saw that kind of like Radlib idiocy run amok. Okay? And it got a lot of motion. What is this? I don't want smell lady to comment or quote tweet on indigenous issues, people or smells. I think she's collecting information and sourcing free labor and then trying to facilitate conversations about race. Like, sometimes when I read stuff like this, I genuinely think, like, did a CIA officer write this? And then I realize, like, no, this is just how people are. They're just mentally ill. I'm sorry. Like, if you are hyper focused on, like, engaging in wrecker behavior, okay, in an already powerless left coalition that seemingly can't be put together ever, you are mentally ill. Okay, so you both don't want her to comment or tweet on it, but also are commenting that you don't think she knows indigenous people exist because she hasn't commented on it yet. You're mad at her for both actions she could possibly take and are determined to get outraged regardless. Yeah, I think she's collecting information and sourcing free labor and then trying to facilitate conversations about race without really centering white supremacy is something she benefits from. Like, I'm just setting up that boundary because white academics do source here and they fiddle, they prod, and they mind. She seems nice and well-intended, but I'm not into it. Like, this is a modern example, yes. Like, people shouldn't do this. And another thing that I always talk about, for those of you who don't know, okay? Another thing that I always talk about, if you're new here, maybe you're unfamiliar, maybe you've seen clips of me talk about these things and don't fully understand. Maybe you got duped into believing that I'm like this as well. Okay. But I get very mad about stuff like this. And as a matter of fact, my haters will often clip me responding to someone like this in a heated moment and then say that I'm against that marginalized group or something, like indigenous population would be the group now, or trans people would be the group if I were to yell at like a Radlib who is, pro-trans and thinks I'm not doing enough or whatever. The thing that I get very frustrated about this kind of sentiment is because I can smell the narcissism in it. A lot of people will literally just, in the left, that want to be kind people, that want to be open-minded people, will just will succumb to standpoint theory, okay? And we'll go, oh, this person could not be like narcissistic in an incredibly unproductive way because they are using emancipatory language. I think that there is a tendency for a lot of tender left, former liberals to basically think, oh, when someone is using emancipatory language and saying the right words and talking about centering their own, marginalized experiences, okay, that must mean that they automatically have something to say that's right. And people don't have the capacity to sift through this information and go, wait, maybe the person I'm talking about is just like selfishly trying to center themselves in the conversation due to a bunch of shit that's going on in their lives. Or maybe because they want to, they want to be annoying. And people do this in my community all the time. And I yell at them all the time and I ban them all the time. That's just how it is. What is this? She done shit like this before? Were you also centering indigeneity when you accused Joyce Carol Oates of being too ugly to empathize with Marilyn Monroe? Wait, what? After the 2022 film Blonde, based on the life of Marilyn Monroe, faced criticism for failing to break away from the media's habit of fetishizing and re-exploiting women, Male Hot attracted controversy for stating that Joyce Carol Oates, who wrote the novel on which the film was based, a literary non-hottie who shouldn't have written the novel, and women who look and act like Oates have no compassion or love for women like Monroe. What? Like, that one lady, leftists tend to be too credulous of right-wing populists just because they use similar language. Like, I get it. It's a tricky environment. These are tricky waters to swim in, because if someone pops off at like a random, let's say black person, a black woman who is criticizing me for being a man, okay? For being a man and also saying that like the labor movement was predominantly dominated by men and we can't enjoy, we can't actually, there's no more coalition building with men. We just have to be anti-men. Let's say in this hypothetical, a black woman on TikTok said this about me, right? Now, you don't know anything about me in this process. You heard that person use emancipatory language, even though their perspective was anti-labor and inherently anti-solidarity and inherently reactionary, right? And I respond to that by saying, this person is all three of those things that I just mentioned, okay? Well, if you yourself are a black woman or a black man, you've heard white guys that look exactly like me, that sound exactly like me, say disparaging things about black people a million times over. So it's understandable that you will go and look at that situation and go, that guy's a misogynist. He's doing misogynoir. I get it. I understand. That's why I say these are tricky waters to swim in, especially when there is definitely an issue with a lot of leftist commentators, for example, online, and them not fully understanding like black liberation, black struggles, and black issues in particular, and oftentimes talking over black people, right? I try to do my best. By the way, the black woman example I gave you was a real person. That really happened. But so I get it. I understand it. I understand how some people who come across as like-minded individuals can be totally blinded by their own personal privilege and actually say things that don't correspond to your lived reality, your lived existence, right? It makes sense. I get it. I guess the point I'm trying to make in this circumstance is that you should not succumb to the whims of radical liberal separatist politics, and instead try to operate on a Marxist framework that still abides by the class standard, where you don't actually cast aside different forms of oppression, oppression conducted through the basis of race, sex, gender, interests or whatever, right? But ultimately, the thing that brings everyone back is supposed to be class-based. Okay, that's it. That's what that's the standard that I abide by. Okay, and I also personally understand that many people that have a lot of somewhat reactionary opinions have developed those reactionary opinions because of the systems that they exist under. Radlibs oftentimes will recognize before anyone else that America is a white supremacist nation that is heteronormative, that is built on the backs of slave labor and built on the principles of... Is he talking about Jax? No, I'm not talking about Jax at all. No. As a matter of fact, my conversations with Jax are a perfect example of what I think is productive. Okay? This is a different TikToker. Jax and I have a disagreement, I think, on work. Okay? A difference in opinion on work. But that's fine, because outside of that, we agree on a lot of things. Like, we agree on the overwhelming amount of problems that American society is facing. Jax is also a TikToker, right? And the conversation between her and I led to a little bit of drama initially, right? Careful, Jax hates you again. Wait, she does? Oh, I didn't realize she hates me now. But it doesn't matter. No motion, as I said. But initially, that conversation was seen from the outside world as me, a white man, basically like, bullying and yelling at a black woman and being ruthless and doing misogynoir or whatever, right? But ultimately, we came to the conclusion that, like, we have some disagreements, okay? So you're not saying marginalized communities can't talk about these identity issues. It's just that we shouldn't let it keep us from class issues and forming coalitions? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And this doesn't mean you need to capitulate to racists or transphobes or whatever. Okay, the switch up, I don't care. I still don't care. I don't care. Because once again, no motion, okay? You have to understand, it's purity testing being done all the time, and oftentimes being done to people who are like-minded. If you are a political commentator of my size, and I urge other political commentators that are large as well to not entertain these battles, okay? To not entertain these battles with people that are yelling at them, because it's stupid at the end of the day. Most people that have hated me throughout my, 5-year, 6-year career on Twitch have oftentimes come to recognize that maybe they misunderstood my perspective initially, or maybe realize that we might have minor disagreements on certain issues, but ultimately we're on the same side. Okay? That's it. Now, this does not mean... What? Well, to be fair, you don't leash your dog. What? Okay. You can't, though. The entire slop depends on the drama. I know. What? Oh, my God. Talking about black issues without having black women, more black men on the podcast is cringe, though. Dude, in a conversation where I'm talking about, like, Radlibs engaging in wrecker behavior because the content doesn't suit their immediate purposes, being an inherently selfish thing that people engage in, and it's actually just a restructured form of narcissism that masquerades as real valid critique, real valid progressive critique, and you just proved exactly what I was talking about, is crazy. Like, I am a rich white heterosexual man, okay? I'm a rich white heterosexual man. Virtually every single issue I talk about does not immediately hurt me, okay? I guess I should just shut the f up about all of these issues and just become one of these other rich white heterosexual assholes that constantly talk about right-wing politics, especially when it's obviously materially beneficial. Do you not understand? This is at the heart of the problem. If you constantly push people, you can't expect them to always stay the course. Not everyone has a strong tendency to abide by their moral compass. People do inevitably respond to people being annoying and go, guess what? This is why I left the left. That's how it works for some people, especially when there are so many financial structures that benefit people leaving this kind of annoying leftist politics behind and moving to the right. This is not a threat, by the way, before people just immediately assume, here goes Hasan. I knew it. I was right about him. He's threatening to go to the right or some shit. That's not what I'm saying at all. Okay? I'm not saying that. And by and large, these sorts of subtle instances of critique that are inherently just people wanting to be recognized, wanting to be heard, that masquerade as like some broader, real, progressive critique of a progressive content creator are annoying and also have a tendency to reassert the reinforce the problem that I was mentioning, which is wrecker behavior. To be honest, as a black viewer, I just watched knowing Hasan is not for black viewers, but to get white male marauders to understand what we already do. That's it. That's why I do what I do. My job, and the way I see it, is to get oftentimes white, okay, but sometimes not white, people to understand systemic racism. My job is not to teach trans people about trans existence. You know that already. You're trans. Okay? The way I see it, my goal is to use this to try to build solidarity. Do you really think you'd have an overnight audience if you overnight grifted to the right after all the years of what you've said? Genuinely curious on your take? No. It would take some time. I would have to slowly but surely, just like slowly but surely move to the right on certain issues. And then the backlash simply pushed me in that direction. That sort of it's happened a million times over at this point. I mean, incredibly stupid people have been able to do this successfully, like Dave Rubin and Tim Pool, So anyway, yeah, I also do have a firm belief that if you left the left because you got annoyed with the left and like what you're just admitting that you have no moral compass. Like your heart wasn't really in it, I guess. Okay. Jax has always been right. Maybe, I guess. Yeah. If she was saying that if she was saying that like, this is a bit of a switch up from what you said surrounding if people and when people leave the left is not because of any kind of annoying people, but because they have no spine and no true basis in empathetic morals. I have no idea if I'm reading it right. No, I'm saying, I just repeated that. I am saying that. Yes. If annoying people are able to push you away, if annoying people that constantly egg at you are capable of pushing you away from your political trajectory, then yeah, your politics are not rooted within empathy. That's it. That's my point. Exactly. Delay, baby. Lamau, hit send on that shit before you explain that. Okay, thanks for the clarification. Yeah. She made a tweet about you with the Blake Lively situation saying that she was vindicated. Yeah, okay. Yeah, she's right. I hate women, That's me. A woman hater. Who cares? It doesn't matter. I never saw it, and I never would have seen it if you guys didn't go and search it out. You know what I mean? Do you not understand? So, but that's the thing. That's the point, right? Like, there are certain things that people do that are, I think, completely unacceptable, right? Like, nothing is impossible to atone for, but there are certain things that if you do and you've done consistently and you keep doing, like, I don't know, recording people without their consent while you're them and then like sharing that with other people that you want to like, that's unacceptable. Okay. That's ridiculous. But outside of that, and that's just one example that's top of mind right now because of the Epstein stuff. But what I mean is like people that go, oh, dude, I knew it. This guy was always a woman hater. And I'm just going to spend the rest of my understanding of his politics to look for any marker whatsoever that corresponds to that bias that I've cultivated. Then yeah, you're going to think that way no matter what. And there's nothing I can do about it. Okay. The point I always make is this. If I was such a woman hater, or if I was such a transphobe, if I was so anti-black, why wouldn't I just say it? It's infinitely more profitable for me to be that way. You understand? Like, why wouldn't I just say it then? Why would I play this secret song and dance? Do you see what I mean? Like, what? Is it the long con? Like, that's it. What? You might have BPD. Critique is annoying. I'm one of the good ones. Deflect the worst behavior. I'm not a rapist, so I must be a feminist. Some people are motivated by things other than money. Yeah, like you. You're motivated by the unimaginable amount of mental illness that you're demonstrating in the chat right now. Is that what I said? 15-month subscriber. This is precisely why I say, like, this shit sucks, okay? It sucks. You always get mad at me? Yeah, because you're mentally ill and annoying in the exact ways that I'm describing how people think leftists are. That's why. Because you proved the example while I'm in the process of describing what's annoying about the way people think the leftists are. Use your brain. Radfem, I'm a misandrist. I don't care. I don't care that you're a radfem or a misandrist. Ultimately, what the is a misandrist? Again, powerless. That's the point. You're powerless. As a misandrist in a patriarchal society, you have no power. So what do? The only power you have is to annoy people like me. That's the only motion you have. So you just constantly unload. That's it. That's the point. That's literally, you are proving the example that I'm giving you. Like, people who self-describe as being misandrists are so funny because it's like, dude, what are you saying? You're just coming across as annoying to people that are already hostile to you because you are a woman, okay? And then on top of that, now you're saying, no, like, I'm not just a woman. I'm also an anti-man woman. Okay, like, I get it. I get why you would be that way. But it's crazy to me. One in chat of misandrist? Okay. Anyway. And me too. I'm a misandrist as well. I'm dying. This has a parent yelling at his child in the backseat, be normal all over it. Yeah, I mean, that is a big chunk of what I do, really. But my point is, I am not your enemy. And if you think I'm your enemy, well, I might not be able to solve those problems. Okay? That's it. Like, if you think my output is inherently hostile to, and you know, playing a formative role in making people be anti-women, for example, it's like, yeah, I guess you're right. What do you want me to say? You know? But regardless of how annoying that person is, okay, that's not going to change my perspective. That's my point. Every single group online that carries the torch of whatever marginalized position that they come from, whatever marginalized background they come from, have yelled at me and said that I am insufficient or outright hostile to their objectives, to improving their lives. Every single one. And my position on none of the issues I talk about has changed. Now, the reason why it hasn't is because I still maintain the position that if people are being annoying to you and you're not getting love from these groups that you advocate for, and that's all it takes for you to just drop that political cause, then you weren't actually, on board with it to begin with. But having said that, especially for the entry point of politics, I think a lot of people personally don't understand that in order for other people that are not like-minded and are inherently hostile to your worldview, in order for them to dip their toes in this kind of politics, you can't always be annoying and inherently hostile. I get why you are, especially because the world sucks. And like, for example, if you're a trans person, you already encounter transphobia on a daily basis, so you have a hair trigger, right? And I get that. I understand that. But, try to go against your judgment here in this environment, specifically so that we are more welcoming of people that aren't immediately open-minded to the way that you exist, because most people are not. But they're not that way because they're just evil. Even though their output towards you is obviously evil, they're not inherently evil. They're not unchangeable figures that are just bad people, right? They're victims of their social conditioning. And my job is to always try and work against that. My job is to approach the subject matter, understanding that most people develop their bigoted opinions because this is what they learn and they never actually think about it critically, okay? But yeah, maybe that's why sometimes I come across as more angry towards radfems and radlibs alike than I do to like a person like Bradley Martin, right? Because I understand that, like, as long as someone has charity, as long as someone is charitable and willing to learn and willing to change their perspective, I would much rather tackle that problem than a radlib or a radfem who already is mostly aligned with the way I see the world on most issues. Okay? Like, I don't care. Yeah, yell at me all you want. Say I'm a hater and hate women. Who cares? Yeah, okay, yeah, fine. Does that make sense? That's how I approach it. I used to think you were a racist, misogynist, etc. because I didn't watch your content, but saw others who would talk about you and call you those things. Eventually, I got tired of the LARPing and did my own research, aka downloaded Twitch, and I was surprised to find that you were none of those things. Yeah, I'm also not exactly inaccessible either. Like, sure, Twitch seems like a daunting task, right? 8 hours of content. That's crazy. No one's going to do that. But like, you could just go watch my YouTube videos or something, you know? I kind of disagree that a lot of these people see the world the same way. They often have an extremely black and white view of people, do not see redemption as possible, and are fundamentally opposed to things like restorative justice. I know. But that is also American social conditioning. What you just described right there is just how Americans are. That's why there are so many Americans who are like, I'm a progressive. I'm the biggest progressive of all time. Also, we should kill people who have done crimes. I'm like, what? That's crazy. I used to genuinely be a misinterest because of TikTok, and I started hating your content because I thought you were misogynistic, but I realized even though you may have some blind spots, you really do try to understand women and aren't against us in the same way that Andrew Tate is, lol. I can't expect everyone to have identical politics to me, and you're right. We generally morally align, so I need to chill for real. That's my hope. My hope is that people will arrive at this conclusion where it's like, you can have disagreements with people, okay? It's normal. It's, dare I say, healthy, okay? As long as you don't let those marginal disagreements become the only point of contention and the only thing that must be discussed at all times, because that spells disorder, that spells chaos, that is wrecker tendencies that a lot of leftists have, okay? I used to literally mix you and tram race together and dismiss you. Yeah, there's also an entire infrastructure, an entire industrial complex of content creators who present themselves as like apolitical drama slop tubers that despise me and will literally say I am every bad thing combined. Sometimes in the same video, they'll say I'm anti-white, I'm an anti-white racist, and then they'll turn around and say I'm an anti-black racist. It does not matter. The entire point is to disparage me. So obviously, I don't fault people for, coming to those conclusions without actually, going through the content themselves and figuring it out on their own. But I do always maintain the position that as long as you stay in here for an extended period of time or watch a full video about any subject matter that you saw a clip from, you will most likely realize that you were duped initially. That's why this community is now filled to the brim with people who were like, I misunderstood your position because of all the clips that I had seen. Yeah, D fans will start doing Berlin stuff under every mildly positive post about you. I know. They immediately will just be like, they found that one tap, that one vein to tap over and over again, where they'll just like totally lie. Like you did with Candace Owens. Wait, what? Candace Owens? Candace Owens is a right-wing content creator that did a documentary about how George Floyd was not actually killed by a police officer, but instead was he actually died because of a drug overdose. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? She's a white supremacist. I remember that guy who made a cartoon about how socialists become fat cats at the height of your house controversy, and I was like, yeah, fuck Hasan. See, that's the other thing. A lot of that is just repurposed, old school, Red Scare, anti-socialist propaganda that is being applied once again. And other people who think that they themselves are progressive-minded people literally fall for it, okay? I used to occasionally watch another leftist account who didn't like you, so I was like, oh, I guess it's just an asshole, but I came here and agree with the vast majority of the time and think you're not bad. Thank you. Anyway, I literally saw someone on Reddit today describe you as an anti-Semitic tourist. Yeah. No, they say that. They used to say that all the time. They said that when I went to Japan. They were like saying I'm a passport bro. Like, dude, I'm sorry, but if you genuinely think that like I fit the mold of a person who has to go to a country that America has dominated to be able to like get laid or whatever, or need like a servile woman who I can dominate with a power structure, with an unjustifiable power structure over them, you're out of your mind, dude. What are you talking about? Like, you can say that about a lot of people, okay? But saying that about me is hilarious. Like, what are you talking about? No, I'm not a passport bro. Yes, you're right. I'm something much worse than a passport bro. I'm a weeb. Anyway, hold on. This is sick. I personally don't agree with every opinion of yours. I do agree with several points, mostly regarding the wildly bad America has done and still does, but I enjoy watching your stuff because it's always good to have another voice in the room to bounce thoughts off of. No, the Trump interview hasn't come out yet. We were waiting for it. Can you interview Trump? No. Let's get back to this Bloomberg article now, okay? I think we definitely figured out why it's much more difficult for someone who is of sound mind and reasonable to build a sizable left-wing audience. I think this little wonderful sidestep showed exactly why most people don't want to do this shit, okay? And don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And a lot of apolitical people also stay far the away from this kind of politics, you know? Because, I'm sorry, if you're not insanely committed to advancing these causes to the outside world, we are so mentally ill and so annoying. And I try to actively work against that by being normal in public all the goddamn time, but it still doesn't matter. You feel me? I don't think Mike from PA Caroline get as much flack as you, though. You're a particular magnet for this shit. Yeah, because I have 40 to 50,000 people watching me every day. Of course I'm a magnet for this shit. For people, I am literally the personal embodiment of socialism and socialist hypocrisy. That's just the way they approach it, because a lot of people are also parasocial, you know? But that's it. Anyway, Bloomberg looked at most of these content creators, and the typical format of the show is a long-form interview with a guest. Reporters found that guests are often famous personalities with broad cultural appeal, including athletes, musicians, comedians, entrepreneurs, and internet influencers. The content is billed as entertainment for men. Okay, these are the different like the guests that people have is what they're showing. Trump's appearances drew significant viewership across the shows. His interviews were the #1 episodes by view count for the majority of the programs tracked by Bloomberg in the past 2 years. Altogether, 9 episodes with Trump as a guest drew more than 100 million views. Joe Rogan making up 50 of it, by the way. Trump's personality and history are compatible with the program's messaging on masculinity, according to Alice Marwick, director of the research at Data and Society Research Institute. It's like, don't be ashamed of your base manly desires. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty. Don't let anyone take you down, she said. You should be proud and strong. You should also go after people criticizing you. On the shows, hosts connect to their audiences using humor and advice and provide a framework for viewers on navigating their world, including their relationships with women, work, and popular culture. They challenge institutions, reinforce old-fashioned gender roles, and glorify men who appeared to have fallen out of favor with the public. Ahead of the presidential election, the show naturally champions Trump, a convicted felon running for president who survived multiple assassination attempts. Trump's often combative messaging also aligns with what succeeds on YouTube. The easiest route these days of viewership is by creating enemies, said Mike Malak, a co-host of the Impulsive podcast. It's me against the world. I'm the little guy standing up for what's right, against corporations, against the government greed, against Chuck Schumer. If you want to find a white knight, look to me. I'm your guy. A year later, Trump was a guest on Impulsive, calling immigrants terrorists and stating that if he had been president, the Russia attack on Ukraine would have never happened. The male-oriented podcast tracked by Bloomberg each have their own style of show. Theo Vaughn often discusses substance abuse issues and childhood experiences with his interviewees, while Lex focuses on expert opinions and tech topics. Sean Ryan chats with people associated with the military and law enforcement. I 100% think Sean Ryan is like a CIA op, by the way. Like, he just always seemingly has these like former government officials and current government officials, and they almost always correspond to, in a conspiratorial manner for sure, but always correspond to like State Department attitudes and interests on any particular matter. I wonder why. And even the same goes for Joe Rogan. He went from being the conspiracy hub to a guy who talks to Mark Zuckerberg and to a guy who literally does reputation laundering for wealthy billionaire defense contractors. Anyway, programs, flagrant, follow the most typical host interview talk show format, discussing news and popular culture, all while challenging political correctness. Yet even as the podcasts have tried to brand themselves uniquely, similar themes and characters appear across the network. Bloomberg's analysis of 2002 episodes show reveal how closely interconnected the podcast's relationships are and how much the show's talking points overlap. Over the past 2 years, 152 guests have made appearances on at least 2 of the shows. Recurring characters are common, not just as guests, but as friends of the shows, including UFC CEO White and comedian Shane Gillis. The effect gives viewers a sense of being inducted into the virtual close-knit friend group from home. Yeah. Notice how I'm not on any of these. Notice how I haven't been on a single one of these podcasts, by the way. I guess I've been on Flagrant. That's the only one out of all these podcasts that I've been on. Interesting. Appearing as a guest on multiple shows doesn't always mean successfully grabbing the audience's attention. According to Bloomberg analyst, the one-time presidential candidate anti-vaccine activist Robert F. Kennedy was the most frequent guest across the shows in the last 2 years, but it wasn't great for business. Kennedy ranked as the 25th most popular guest by numbers of views. Yeah, probably because there's a certain quality to Robert F. Kennedy that doesn't lend itself to the auditory medium. The top guest by number of views across the network reveals the kind of content resonates with most of the broadcaster's audiences. The professional kickboxer and self-proclaimed misogynist Andrew Tate, who is currently under investigation by Romanian authorities, holds the second highest viewership on the podcast overall, despite appearing on only 3 shows. Tucker Carlson, the former Fox News host who appeared on 6 of the 9 channels tracked by Bloomberg, ranked 3rd by numbers of views, according to the analysis. Yeah, Tucker Carlson is popping, dude. I hate it. Although politicians and pundits make up only 15% of all guests, they make up 30% of the most viewed guests. As the election drew closer, more politicians and pundits were invited on the podcast. Anyway, look, the way I see it is this, okay? These guys are, I don't think they're card-carrying right-wingers, okay? I think that they have a lot of their own personal brand of politics. Like Joe Rogan is now a card-carrying right-winger, has been for a while, right? Patrick Bet-David, card-carrying right-winger, has been for a while. Can't speak for Sean Ryan. I don't know what Lex Fridman's personal politics are. It's indecipherable. He is the most centrist man on the planet. Aiden, I think, is genuinely too stupid to have any political opinion, no matter how racist. Like I think he's one of the few people that's like unironically too stupid to be racist. Like genuinely, like that would require him to do at least like some level of reading, and he cannot do that. Full Send Podcast, they're right wingers, but it doesn't matter. They're Canadian, but their output is definitely right wing, and they are right wing. Okay. Andrew Schultz, I don't think he voted for Donald Trump, even though everybody says he's racist recently. I'd be shocked if he voted for Donald Trump. Theo Von is another person that I think is like, Theo Von is another person, and so is Logan Paul. Okay. I'm not saying these people are good or bad. I'm not associating right-wing politics with bad or left-wing politics or liberalism with good. Okay. I'm certainly not doing that. But like Theo Von, I don't think is a right-winger at all. And neither is Logan Paul, shockingly enough. I think controversial opinion. I don't think Logan Paul is like a out and about openly right-wing guy. Now, Jake Paul, on the other hand, definitely a right-winger. Having said that, you can say allowing right-wing political promotion on your platform is not really good, and I agree.